Minister taking to social media to give out a very, very important message. Terrorism is an enemy of humanity. It is against all countries that uphold democratic values. For global peace and prosperity, our thoughts and policies must be clear. If any country supports terrorism, it will have to pay the price for it. The Prime Minister has said at the G7 outreach session in Canada. So the Prime Minister making the anti-terror message very clear at the G7 summit, talking tough on terror, saying there should be no place for double standards on terrorism. In fact, he invoked Pahalgam and he spoke about how it was an attack on every Indian and on the entire humanity. We have guests joining us this morning, Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, as well as Dr. Michael Owens, Mayor, Mableton, and President, US Global Center for Cyber Policy, joining us on the broadcast. A very good morning to you and thank you for joining us. Ashok Sajjanhar, Ambassador, I'll begin with you. What were your key highlights from the Prime Minister's visit? As he concluded the summit, he also spoke about Pahalgam, saying terror has no place in the world.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. I think the first highlight, Pratibha, in my view, is that this visit did take place, because it had been thought for quite some time that, whether the invitation from Canada, because of the nosedive in relations that has been happening for, more than 1.5 years, close to 2 years now, that whether this invitation would come or not. But it's good that the invitation came. It came rather late, but it was gracious of the Prime Minister to have accepted the invitation and then decided to visit Canada for the G7 summit. I think it provided an opportunity to Prime Minister Modi to India, since it was his first visit outside the country after Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor, to basically once again focus on the issue of terrorism and how the whole world needs to come together to deal with this scourge. Because although India got universal support from all the countries after Pahalgam, but then that metamorphosed into something after Operation Sindoor. It metamorphosed into something that there should be, the conflict should be brought to an end. I think that is quite understandable, but still bringing to the world community the perfidy of Pakistan and how the world needs to act against it and pressurize Pakistan not to use terror as an instrument of state policy. Otherwise, India has changed its doctrine with focus on zero tolerance to terror. There should be no hypocrisy. There should be no double standards. So that was one major takeaway. I think the other aspect is, Pratibha, that Prime Minister Modi, as you're showing on the screens, that he met Ma Kane.
Yes.
And that is, the first step, it is said, is always the most difficult step. So this first step has been taken, and both India and Canada have acted together on this.
Yes.
Because a good relation between these two democracies is a win-win for both the countries, and it's a win-win for the whole world. They have so much to share with each other. They have so much to give to each other and mutually strengthen each other. We had an FTA negotiations that were going on when the rupture came in the relations. And so that will be useful. It is good for Canada. It is looking away from the United States after all this pushback coming from Mr. Trump. So that is good for Canada. That is good for India also, because India is in its pursuit of Viksit Bharat 2047. It's looking to enhance its, improve its economy and increase its exports.
Ambassador, I also want to mention that there has been such a stark difference. If we just look at the pictures of the Prime Minister's meeting with the former Prime Minister of Canada, with Justin Trudeau, it was very clear even from the pictures that there were some tensions. It was a clear indication of what the relations between India and Canada were at the time. And the pictures today were a stark difference, where the two leaders were seen sharing a smile. An indication that ties are going to only be improving, isn't it? I also want to bring in Dr. Michael Owens. world peace was top on the agenda at the G7 summit, and understandably so, because of the tensions rising between Israel and Iran, what's happening between Russia and Ukraine. The Prime Minister of India, of course, also spoke about what happened in Pahalgam. But Dr. Michael Owens, where do you see India in this? India's role at the G7 summit and at a crucial time like this for world peace?
Yes, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And absolutely, I think India is increasingly vital on the global stage. We continue to see that. We saw that with the invitation here to the G7. And, India is an economic powerhouse, the world's largest democracy, and a key security partner in the whole Indo-Pacific region. They're also a technology leader, and India has continued to flex its muscles in that space, but also look for opportunities. As mayor of a city in the United States, I look at the global landscape, and I can see that, in times where U.S. sometimes seems to maybe take a step back from some of these global conversations, that's opportunities for countries like India to have conversations without necessarily the oversight, if you will, of America there. And, unfortunately, as we know, that President Trump left. But I do see that Prime Minister Modi's taken steps forward. We saw it with the Quad Summit last year, and we see it again this year with G7. And I think it's just a way to reshape national prominence, and that's what we're seeing.
Okay, all right. Dr. Michael, just a moment. I also want to bring in details of the Prime Minister. He has taken to social media to speak about this meeting that we were